Is this on? Yes, it is. Good. Welcome back, everyone. Did we enjoy our lunch? Yes? I'm going to need to hear more. Did we enjoy our lunch? A little bit better. I'll give you a 6 out of 10. We are going to get straight back into it with another panel. So I've really enjoyed our panels today. They've been really, really insightful. And I know that this one is going to be the same. It is all about international collaboration, immersive technology, big words, storytelling between Coventry and Nairobi. don't know how to say that properly, but they'll be able to say it a lot better than what I have. Remember, you can get involved as well. If you are watching on YouTube or you want to tweet about it, you can tweet with the hashtag WeMoveGYS. So I am now going to hand over to Matilda to run the panel.
Working? Yeah, perfect. Nice to see you all here today, and I'm really excited to be joined for this digital storytelling lab. So the Digital Storytelling Lab is a new immersive piece of work collaborating between Nairobi and Coventry. The kind of question today is, how do you work together? How do you collaborate across 6,000 miles? And we've got people who are experts in doing just that here in Coventry, who you're going in Nairobi, who you're going to see in a second. They've worked together over 8 months to create 2 digital pieces that you're going to have a see today and then hear a discussion about. The first is called Our Daily Bread. It's a sort of interactive film exploring themes of youth unemployment and looking for jobs. And the second is called Now That I Know Things, which is an immersive audio piece. Yeah. So first we're going to introduce everybody. We should have Nairobi on screen. Yes. Welcome.
Woo.
Okay.
Come on.
So I'm going to hand over to maybe Analo first. Do you want to introduce yourself, and then we'll go round.
Okay, so hi everyone. I hope you can hear me. Yeah, so my name is Analo. I am one of the creatives from the Nairobi cohort. I am a musician, a saxophonist, and overall creative. And I took part in the Now That I Know Things, where do I go from here?
Hello, everyone. My name is Precious Narotso, and I am a visual artist who specializes in illustration, and I worked on the Now That I Know Things production.
Hi, everyone. My name is Milan Kiptum, and I am a filmmaker who works on the short film as my primary artistic medium. I was part of the Now That I Know Things project.
Hey everyone, my name is Tracy. I work in communications. I'm also a podcaster, but for this project, this is my debut as a director, and I directed Our Daily Bread.
Hi everyone, my name is Mike Wanjala from Nairobi, animator, designer, and interactive media specialist. And I worked as a producer on the Our Daily Bread project, and also an editor as well. Yeah, thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Naserian Koikai. I'm a filmmaker, and I worked as the cinematographer on Our Daily Bread.
Thank you, everybody. And we're also joined by Mutana. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, sure. My name is Motana Wanjera. I'm a creative producer of the African Fiction Academy, which is a laboratory that explores ways in which we can learn, create, and commercialize works of art inspired by African cultural heritage. I work between Paris and Nairobi, and I'm currently joining the guys in Nairobi to see exactly what's going on, because I believe here is exactly where it's at, also creatively. So thank you.
Brilliant to have you here with us today. Thanks so much. Okay, and then in the room in Coventry, we have...
Hi everyone, my name is James Grubb, and I worked on Our Daily Bread for the Coventry side, doing directing and producing and different things like that.
Thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Demi. I'm a poet, and on this project I worked as a script supervisor and a voiceover actor for the podcast host, and yeah, just helped produce the project in itself. So yeah.
Hello. Hello everyone, my name is Michael Mihawk. I was involved in this project, obviously just helping it put together and stuff, and then I was doing some behind-the-scenes stuff as well. So yeah, man.
Hello everyone, it's wonderful to be here. I'm Joseph Amoa. I am a development producer in BBC R&D. I was a mentor on this project, and I kind of specialize in interactive and immersive storytelling and what the future might hold. It's wonderful to see so many people here, and wonderful to see everyone over in Nairobi as well.
Thank you. Cool. Okay, so the first thing we're going to see is a clip from Our Daily Bread. We're going to see the trailer first, and then Analo is going to talk a bit about how the film was made. Oh, I might have got it the wrong way around. Yeah, we're going to go with Now That I Know Things first.
I took my time getting up. No alarm. In bliss.
Niko kwa tarmac in a shelled gown. To the sun. But you know,
now that we know things, Aisha.
Yes, Sarah?
May the following students for the award of various bachelor's degrees please arise.
Looking gorgeous. And yeah, all these clips today, the previews are just what we're going to see, and then you can look at the whole pieces on the BBC website. But yeah, Anale, would you like to talk us through a bit about how the piece came about?
Okay, so the project is called Now That I Know Things, Where Do I Go From Here? It's an immersive audio project that takes us through the days of two graduates, Aisha from Nairobi and Sarah from Coventry. The themes that we decided to explore was primarily education and the education system. So we found that a lot of graduates from both Nairobi and Coventry don't graduate with sort of pragmatic skills that are needed in the work environment. The intimacy of an audio project is also something that drew us to use Audio Orchestrator as one of the BBC tools. So by incorporating rhythm in poetry, word painting, lyricism, sort of learning how to script silence, learning how to script sound effects as well, were things that we decided to explore. I think the project is very personal to us because between 18 and 25, as we graduate from university, we ask ourselves so many questions. You know, we are creatives and we want to do creative work, but is it feasible? Can we get sort of finances? Can we have job security? And those are things that we decided to explore. So I think the novel aspect of this story is that the audience sort of incorporates an omnipresent persona, and the audience is able to talk to Aisha and Sarah personally. They're able to experience the day outside of the two of them, and they're able to have direct conversations with the two characters. Yeah, so that's pretty much about the project.
Thank you. I'm going to, I've got a few reflections now, and then we're going to come to the rest of the panel a bit to share what they think. I guess from my own perspective, I should have said at the beginning, but my job is that I work for a think tank, which is a research organization, and I lead our research and engagement work. And we talk a lot about life transitions. So these periods of your life where you're moving from one section to another, and how that shapes your behavior, it shapes your life chances, your health over the life course, the whole of your life. And leaving your education is one of those moments. And what I liked in the piece, you listen to it with like your phone and your computer and another thing, and it feels like it's wrapped right around you. And often we think of these moments as something that are quite dry or like concepts, but that really made you feel the possibility and the uncertainty and how they pulled against each other, which I thought was a really rich way to express the complexity and the possibility in those moments, as well as how scary it can be. So yeah, I look forward to hearing your further reflections. I think.
So I guess it's very personal, the stories, and I think there's a beauty in how there's an ebb and flow between the two characters. They are so different, so individual. Aisha is an extrovert, Sarah is an introvert, but towards the end of the trailer, you also see that their stories are so similar. And so it brings the question of, in Kenya, we have 844 and the competency-based curriculum. And in the UK, you have the IGCSE, if I'm not wrong. But the outcome is the same. And so what are our policies? What are the Ministry of Education doing? The Youthful Cities Index also talks about how in Nairobi, we have a budget of 5.3 billion towards entertainment and towards culture and sports, but this doesn't reflect. So those anxieties, the fear, we sort of empathize with Aisha and Sarah in the story.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to come now to talk about our daily bread, and I think Demi's going to introduce it after we see the trailer.
Hello, everyone. I didn't actually say thank you as well before I started speaking before. What I'll actually do is I'm going to actually let Michael and James speak as well, because I feel like the way in which the project actually unraveled, they were actually part of the team at first, and then we merged teams, so I'll let them two decide now who wants to speak.
With the creation of Our Daily Bread, I say one thing that we got really lucky with. So, obviously the original team, it was me, James, Mike, Tracy, and, we called ourselves Team Thanos because we're all goddamn nerds. We love our comic books and stuff. But it was one of those things, like, we really clicked as friends, and every session started off with like 20 minutes, half an hour of like, hi, how are you, what you've been up to? And I think that really helped us because, you're working with people who are so far away from you, and this isn't something where we were all like actors or all directors, all producers. You know what I mean? We have different skills, different backgrounds, and we have different experiences. And therefore, coming together and blending those ideas together into something that we could all agree was our vision. I think we got really lucky because it was easy. You know what I mean? We all agreed on the kind of things we wanted to focus on. We started talking about personal experiences and stuff that we've seen and stuff that we've gone through, and it was similar. You know what I mean? Even though, like I said, we've had these very different paths in different countries and, different kind of jobs and careers, yet the struggles in getting those jobs and those positions was, it was similar. And yeah, once we started having those kind of discussions and, starting putting down ideas, it was great. But then it was way too chunky. Our first script was like 30 pages.
We might come back to like talk about the process in a minute.
Okay.
So I think we're going to see the trailer first.
Sorry.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess we'll see the trailer now.
I think.
Do you want to say anything, James, quickly?
We'll come back. Brilliant. Okay. I think we're going to go to Matana. If you've got any reflections you want to share on either Our Daily Bread or both the pieces, and then I'm going to chip in before we go to some questions.
Sure. So what I like about these two pieces of work is that they represent, what it means to have immersive stories, and stories that are able to reach into almost even the soul of a person through an entry point that's so simple and so almost even banal. Just how the two projects are able to, to almost technically, move into the different spaces of immersion, how they're able to bring us in, for example, through technology, through the different tools that you've used, this technological aspect as a way to enter your productions. It's something that I find really, really interesting. Also the way that you make sure that the people stay in your story through your, what I'd call cinematic storytelling is really good. I like the script. I like how, it brings together this element of, these singular experiences in the lives of youth. That's something that I found absolutely interesting. So that, I think those are some of the few things that I'd say about the projects. I'm saying it while looking at them because I can see they're finally at this moment where they're presenting and they want to know from someone who's not been in it as deeply as they have. And I really appreciate the work they've done. I definitely do. I guess I'll have a bit more to say when we're looking at the processes, but congratulations, guys.
Thank you. I guess, yeah, from my perspective on Our Daily Bread, I've only saw it last night, but I think what I really like about it is how the experiences mirror each other so closely. You think, at least I do in the UK, of Nairobi as someone that's so far away, but how the experience of unemployment is such or looking for a job is such a leveler, because it's the anxiety and the impact on your health and your relationships is all it's the same. And I liked how sensitively you dealt with that and the transition that you use like food and birds to sort of switch between scenes and these sort of like uncharged objects. I thought it was really smart. So I wanted to ask our first question, which is about how you develop these stories. Why did you pick these stories to tell the story of unemployment and leaving uni? And I think, yeah, James, do you want to come first on Our Daily Bread?
Yeah, so with Our Daily Bread, as Michael was touching upon as well, and as you've touched upon likewise, I think unemployment, as you said, it's a really big leveler. I think once you experience it once, you don't really want to do it again, and it was something that we both, all of us, both in Coventry and Nairobi, had experienced, but something that was quite prominent, quite similar, and it was really at the forefront of our minds when we were reading through the Youthful Cities Index and thinking about a project that we wanted to create. I think it's because it's quite emotive and it brings out a lot of emotion, and I think it's something that everyone can relate to if they've been in that position, because we all have the feelings of other people are getting ahead and you're getting left behind, and when you all go home, rush home and watch the piece, I'm sure you'll see we kind of add other themes in, like politicians and the media and all these different things that have an influence on the difficulties that unemployment have, and yeah.
Sorry, what was the question again?
How the stories came about, why you chose that story to depict.
Yeah. So obviously, like James was saying, like I was saying, it's a big problem, and it's a problem. Obviously, unemployment is not something that our generation is the first generation to deal with. You know what I mean? But one of the things that I was saying earlier to someone is, as time changes, generations have different problems or different versions of the same problem. And obviously, unemployment in the way that we have it now is is different than unemployment the way it was a couple of years ago, because, you know, now we're in a very weird position where people are spending years and thousands and coming out with degrees, and somehow those degrees aren't really helping them get jobs. And, you know, it's becoming very tough to navigate, to find a clear path of how to get from A to B. You know what I mean? If you're in like school or, you know, year 10, year 9, you're picking your GCSEs, trying to plan your life. It is very difficult because it's not as simple as saying, I'm going to do this at college, I'm going to do it then at university and then get a job in it. So, yeah, I think it was just something that was just very close to our hearts, and we just really wanted to bring attention to it. So, yeah, man, I'm happy we got a chance to do it.
Thank you. And maybe Anala, you can talk a bit about it from your side. Why did you choose the story of those two characters?
I think for me, even just speaking for myself, as a musician and as a creative, I'd say that's my passion, but I'm a law student as well. And so sometimes I sit with myself and ask myself, why am I doing what I am doing? Why is there a big discrepancy between what I love and my reality? So when we came together as creatives from Coventry and Nairobi, and we sort of shared honest stories, we found that we all feel that way. And so just making each other feel seen for the older generation, this is a nostalgic moment of maybe what you did in uni. And yeah, I'd say the motivation was just being transparent with the human experience.
And do you think there's something particular about your experiences as young creatives compared to people who are graduating from science or humanities degrees?
Yeah, I think also there are a lot of, like, I have a sound engineer friend who's also a medical student. So we're all in this together.
Brilliant. Maybe we can talk a bit more about the form now. So why you chose slightly different forms between your pieces. One was video, one was audio. Yeah. Does anyone from the Coventry team want to reflect on the form?
I think with video and things like that, I mean, first of all, I'd say about form, this is something that obviously Jerry helped us a lot with. I think we enjoyed story format as a tool. I think it was really something that we wanted to get involved in. You know, it wasn't necessarily a very conscious decision that we thought that it would portray the story better or anything like that. I think we just fell in love with interactive media, and we thought that, you know, I think it's interesting that the two pieces use different forms actually, and you can see why that is. I think I can't really synthesize it because it's a bit, you know, difficult when you work on something for so long, and you know, but I'd say that it's just because we fell in love with the tool and we loved the idea of being creative with it and having different representations. And when you watch the piece, you can like start in Nairobi and then switch across, and then start in Coventry and then switch across as well. So we really thought it was important to have that switchability and that changeability. So I think that's probably why we picked Storyformer in the end. Yeah, Debbie wants to speak.
I think as well, it's quite key what we're portraying in terms of what the story is about, in terms of decisions determine destiny. So throughout the whole interactive film, you're making decisions, and every decision that you make is now going to equate to what happens next. And that's a direct parallel with what happens in life, as well as the decisions that people make around us. So I feel like once we started to gravitate to that and try to embody that into what we're creating, I feel subconsciously it's also going to show people like, hey, you have the power, you have the decisions to shape what happens today, tomorrow, and so forth. And then I think also, just to quickly say one more thing as well, when we are able to, you know, collaboratively and collectively make decisions which are much more healthier, like there's a point in the film where in Jerry and Luke, they basically have this decision where they can either ignore, the laptop basically fails on them and they've got a job interview. They can literally just ignore it or try to set back up the internet. And really and truly, although it's just two decisions, those two decisions will equate to an unquantifiable amount of infinite destinies. However, turning on the laptop, turning on the communication, let's say, the connection back, now gets Luke and Njeri to those next steps. But I'm going to try not to say too much more, because, yeah.
Yeah, Michael?
Yeah, so sorry for the spoiler, guys. Spoiler alert. But I just wanted to quickly touch on it and, build a little bit on what Demi was saying. Decisions make destiny. You're always one decision away from a completely different life. And I think, especially with me having a theatre background, this is a way in which I love telling stories, and we're all storytellers within our as an actor, as a poet, as a producer, we create stories and then we tell them and then we show them, and having this interactivity, if that's a word, I think was very important for us, letting people make the choices. And yeah, man, I think it was just a really important way for the story that we wanted to tell. I don't think it would have worked in any other forum, like if it was a normal movie or an audio piece. So, yeah.
Thank you. Maybe we can hear from Milan from Now That I Know Things about why you chose that form.
So our first starting point was sound is universal. So we thought of sound that as a thing that connected Nairobi and Coventry. So we said, how would we use sound to bring the similarities between these two characters? So one of the ways we did it was creating layers of sound. So there's spoken word, there's the sound, the ambient sound that reflects the immediate physical environment that Aisha and Sarah find themselves in. And also we used music, and we created an abstract, invented soundscape to reflect the emotional spaces or the emotional states. And also we opted for an immersive way, not primarily interactive, but just we wanted the listener to sit in a very linear way and experience this experience in a way that they can reflect on their own education experience, they can reflect on their own anxieties and fears that they had on their graduation day. And one of the things also we decided when we went for the audio orchestrator was accessibility. So you find that you can just experience this work by your phone, your laptop, or you can have just a group of friends, and then you can listen to this experience, you can reflect, you can have this communal practice communal reflection on graduation as a rite of passage. So yeah, that's why we settled on audio and the format that we went with.
Thank you. And maybe Nazreen, did you want to feed anything else in here? That's okay.
Sorry, please repeat the question.
Just if you wanted to add anything else on the form of the piece. So why you chose a sound piece, how that developed over time, were there any changes? Oh no,
And
I'm not the wrong person.
yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay, let's come to Joey, because Joey worked on both pieces, so you'll have a reflection on.
Sure. I think when you're looking at the form and the way in which the two stories unfold, speaking first of Now That I Know Things, audio, as they touched upon, is such an evocative medium for conveying emotions. And when you remove visuals from the storytelling, it really allows the emotion to flow. This piece is an idea that explores rites of passage, how people move between transition points in their lives where there's huge excitement, but there's also trepidation, there's fear, there is this unknown. And I think audio is a fantastic medium to explore those complex emotions, and especially when you do it in a spatial way, where sounds are sent to different connected devices around you as you explore. It allows you to kind of really sit with those feelings and sit with those complex ideas if you're listening to the poem unfold. And as a result, it's makes it feel much more real and much more of a contemplation, I think, and it allows you to have that critical distance to really think and explore your own feelings in response to those pieces. And speaking of Our Daily Bread in its form, it's a piece that can only be realized through the participation of the audience. It's not something that unfolds on its own. It actually requires you to lean in and actually actively engage with the concepts and the challenges that Luke and Njeri are facing. And I think that's how those two pieces really are quite powerful, in that they deliver their message in very different ways, but allow you to really understand the complex ideas that these young artists are trying to explore through their own experiences and through their creative vision. So in terms of their form, I think they're so elegant and such a distinctive imagination of these concepts that it makes it a really powerful piece, and powerful in their own different ways.
Well, yeah, really rich reflections. Thank you, Joey. I wanted to next ask about the process of collaboration. So our question today is, how do you collaborate across 6,000 miles? And I'd be really interested to know what that was like what it was like practically to make it work. Maybe we'll first go to our team in Nairobi. If Precious, do you want to reflect a bit on what the collaboration was like for you?
So in terms of collaboration, okay, let me start with the fact that we were in different teams before we were reduced to the 2 teams. So we were 4 teams initially. And the first time round, it was interesting entering into this experience, knowing what you're bringing to the table, but then also having that kind of like, I don't know if self-awareness is the word, to know you're coming into the experience to bring something, but you might not contribute in that way. So are you able to get over that and contribute to this piece the way it needs you to contribute to it? So I think that was the initial vibe, like, although you've come in to do something, are you willing to add on something else? Are you able to like put your differences aside and deal with this thing right here? Are you able to collaborate with your members? Because, you know, truth be told, you're not going to get along with everyone, but are you able to push through that? So in terms of collaboration, the first time round, that was the vibe that I got. But then the second time, with Now That I Know Things, it was different because, number one, the medium that we were using, which is audio orchestrator, was not my area of interest initially. Because I'm a visual artist, I want to work with visual media. So it was a bit of a challenge, but then going in and working with Analo and Milan and Lanare, and collaborating with them and seeing their vision and how they're also bringing their expertise into the group also gave me some sort of motivation to add my own thing, even though audio is not my main focus. And I was able to learn so much about sound, something that I will bring to my work going into the future. And also in terms of collaboration, everyone that I've worked with, okay, most of the people that I've worked with, I will work with again. So yeah, I think that shows you that I really did enjoy this experience. And can't wait to do it again.
Brilliant. Yeah, so interesting to think about how a visual artist works on a sound piece. I'm going to come to Nazreen now to talk about Our Daily Bread and what that process of collaboration was like.
Okay, so initially I had also started on a different project, and I joined Our Daily Bread after. What I'd say is that coming into a team that have already established themselves, it was difficult knowing, obviously you know your role, but sort of coming into that role, allowing yourself to come into that role with a team that's already established who they are. But as we went along, it became easier because you know that you also have something to bring to the table, and what you're doing is just as important. So it's really about open and honest communication. Yeah.
Thank you. Coming to UK, maybe Mike, you can reflect on was it ever hard to translate the experiences between Coventry and Nairobi? Like, how was that?
Well, here's the thing. There were a lot of experiences where there was no issue because the other people in Nairobi had been through it and therefore they just understood. But then there were also things which, were vastly different. And, it was a struggle to wrap our head around the fact that it was even like real and stuff was happening. And, I remember Mike and Tracy, they're telling us about, you going out and just making sure that you had enough in case you had to bribe someone, because like you just never know. And I was just like, well, what do you mean you just never know? Like what? And then so translating those kind of experiences, which are just stuff that is like, is that even real? I would say it was difficult, but yet again, it was all conversations. That's why, there was a big part of it. I think for the first like 2 months even, we just kind of focused on conversations, talking to each other and exploring who we are, who we're working with, and what the project is. Because, that Youthful City Index, like it was online, so you didn't really get a feel of it, but it was like 100 pages or something. And like double-sided and stuff, like, yo. And we're going through it, and it's full of statistics from like Coventry and Lebanon and Detroit and Nairobi, and it's talking about everything from education to transport. And you're reading these things, and you're just like, wow, like in Colombia, people are getting paid like $1.72, and they're earning that an hour. And like, their prices are not much lower than us. You're thinking everything's cheap. No, their prices are like just a little bit lower than us. So people are crazy struggling. And yeah, man.
So the index was something you looked at the beginning, right? You based your research, it was like a research phase before you made your pieces.
Yeah. So, the Youthful Cities program, did this very extensive research into all types of area that you can imagine. So like accessibility to arts, how many library, transport, how many police stations, community, employment, how many people are going into employment after completing the university, how many people are in the thing that they studied for at university. So it was very, very extensive, letting you look at all sides of it, environmental, business, education. So yeah, and obviously, like I say, at the beginning, it was a lot, you know what I mean? And you're thinking like, how can you even look at one and think, let's focus on this? But, it was just conversations. I keep going back to it because there needed to be such a level of understanding between us as a team about who we were and who we were working with before we could even step forward into what we wanted to focus on and how we were going to be able to create it.
Oh yeah? Do you want to come in quickly, Demi?
Yeah, so just quickly, in terms of the Youthful City Index, we basically were set with a task by our producers, Harmeet, Nyambura and the team at BBC and R&D. So we had to look at the Youthful City Index and literally look at all the statistics, and then everybody had to kind of pick two or three things that they gravitated towards, and that's what kind of stemmed most of the ideas which formulated into our daily bread, then picking youth unemployment. Do you want to say something?
I was just going to quickly mention that. So we got told to pick like 2-3 things, and Hami had, it was the maddest graph you have ever seen with all our names and interested and ways that are interlocked. And, then she picked out the team. So, obviously this project would have been nothing without Hami Shago. She's sitting right there. Come on, guys, give her a big round of applause. And obviously Niambora, she was doing the same thing as Hami over on the Kenyan side. So yeah, man, without like these amazing, because you know we're talented young people, but just to like wrangle us and yeah, man, big up.
And oh, sorry. And also, so just to basically say this as well, our collaborative process was made easier by the tools we were given. We were basically invited to a digital mood board, which is called Miro, and we were basically able to see what everybody was thinking and listing and noting in real time. Sometimes people might do work, you might come back a few hours later, so I definitely think Miro helped us quite a big deal, as well as Zoom and as well as other platforms that we were given. What was the other one that we could go from room to room by just dragging the mouse?
I don't know, but
what was it again?
Created like your own private social media platform.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Practical tools.
Yeah, practical tools to help collaboration.
Precious, do you have any reflections on the process of cultural translation? What was the strangest thing about working with people from the UK?
The strangest thing about working with people from the UK, I think it's just a different working styles, let me say. I think we all do work differently. And then on top of that, the time zone actually has a big role to play. Like 2 hours you may think is not that big of a difference, but it actually makes a difference when you're working at night. But in terms of working with the people from the UK, I would just say a difference in the way that we work. I think, I wouldn't even say Kenyans are like this and people from the UK are like that, but you can definitely see that okay, it's a bit hard to articulate it, yeah, but you can see that there's a side that maybe puts on more effort than the other, and there's another side that puts more effort than the other. So it's depending on where where you're sitting. Yeah, but it was cool. Like I don't think you would expect it to flow so well, even amongst Kenyans, even people who have lived in the same area their whole lives. So for it to be an international thing, of course, we are going to have times where we don't see eye to eye, but the result was great. I got to see how different people approach things. So there was definitely a good thing that came out of it. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I'm interested in how it's not just like creative exchange, but you've also got to deal with these issues like power and like experience and equity in your collaboration, which is really interesting. Maybe we can come back to Matana and think about the wider potential of this kind of collaborative, immersive, digital way of working and what it means for culture and society.
Yeah, sure. When I think about what these young ladies and gentlemen have experienced, it feels something that's very close to me. It feels like an experience that I've gone through, and for the longest time, I thought it feels like I found my tribe, we can say. As I said, I do my work between Paris and Nairobi, and for the entire 2021, we were developing a project called The Sounds of Freedom, and it's an immersive story about the lives and experiences of the young men, the young women who fought for Kenya's independence. And I was the creative producer of this. I developed the concept, and the main challenge with this was working just like you guys across countries. I was in Paris, 90% of my team in Nairobi, and the scripting was being done in Kampala. So having to coordinate all that across, just like you guys, 10 months, was quite an interesting process for me. There's all the challenges, of course, but I think there's a huge value, and what you represent is the fact that there's a huge value in constituting strong teams, because a strong team can work across countries. A strong team has people who can, take up the responsibilities and actually deliver. A strong team is one that even when electricity goes out or when, others are busy Brexiting, you can rely on this person. So I think that was one of the things I really wanted to note down, is that constituting this strong team of talented people is the biggest challenge. And of course, now from there, the other things are easier. Of course, there'll be the difficulties, but I think it flows from there when we're talking about the resources that you need, the financing that you need, about having good internet, or about the different tools that you're learning, because even these tools that the BBC has developed, these are tools that you're getting to learn firsthand, and the whole learning curve in the process. I think it all comes together into constituting a very strong project. And of course, what's at the core to me is the vision that you all share. And when I talk about the vision, it's quite possibly not even the story. The story is a way through which you express your dreams in what you believe you can achieve. And to have this strong vision through these stories, things that you can come and develop a 100-page script out of, I think these are things that speak about how strongly people believe in this project and what they're doing. And that's also one of the things that speaks to where the cultural and creative industries internationally are going. So maybe just that from me.
Thank you for sharing. And Joey, I'm really curious about how this links to what you're developing at the BBC. Like, what's your vision for how we use these technologies?
Well, these technologies have a real potential to change the way in which we consume our media and how we go about understanding stories. There will always be a place for the experiences where you are sitting back and someone is coming and telling you a story. But once you start inserting flexibility into how narratives flow and how they portray, you allow yourself to kind of step into the story world and step into what you're being told in a completely different way. You aren't a passive observer, you're not an active participant. You shape the way the narrative flows, you shape the way in which where everything goes, and it's more personal, it's more personally relevant. It allows you to explore themes in ways that actually resonate in a much more meaningful way than just being told a diatribe and having someone kind of lead you on the way. You have to navigate your way, much through the way the team had spoken about in terms of life and making choices. It's not always about the way you need to go, it's about how you get there, which is really, really great. And with the spatial side, it's also interesting in terms of those tools in making you sit and actually listen to those emotions and combining the two together to give you a really rich media experience that is personally tailored and relevant and aligns one another with all the different experiences you can potentially have. So using story format, using audio to kind of build these type of experiences is really powerful, and the future for different types of media, using this type of content to tell different kinds of stories that we weren't able to do before, is really, really exciting, especially for me as a creative, but it's also seeing the next generation of creatives here in Coventry and in Nairobi being able to take new experiences and embrace the types of stories that they want to tell. So I, for one, am really excited about what the future holds and the imaginative ways in which this new cohort of creative talent in their creative careers will be able to tell stories that I can't even imagine, and I can't wait to see them unfold.
That's a great lead into. We're going to go back and talk to maybe Mike and then followed by Tracy about what you see as the potential of this work and in your own careers and more widely, how you hope it would develop.
So basically, in my opinion, when I was creating the whole, well, we were actually collaborating together. The one thing I realized, it has a lot of potential, and coming from the background of animation, I felt like I could probably incorporate what I normally do into this, and I feel like it is so new. And let me just take you back a little bit. When we talk about these issues like unemployment and anxiety, in my opinion, I think it has been said very vocally, and it has been said so many times that the normal audience, for some reason, they don't really receive it more uniquely, you know. So it doesn't really have a big impact. So by using these new developing tools, I feel like we are a better position to communicate effectively to our audiences and put them in our shoes in our day-to-day programs and struggles and things like that. So I think it has great potential. We just need more of this. And I really think that by exploring this, by exploring also VR, as in the process of selecting what tools to use, we also explored VR. And I think those are avenues that we may also consider maybe in future. So I think there is great potential and it will greatly improve our storytelling stories. So in my opinion, the future is bright. And yeah, basically, yeah, that's my thought, maybe, Tracy.
Yeah, thank you so much. Tracy, what do you think?
For the future of immersive media, I think having more of these kind of films, interactive films, that gets you as the person who's experiencing it to actively influence what's going on in the film will make us be more, more involved in the art forms that we consume, because you can tell in the current generation, in our generation, when you put on a film, sometimes you might zone out and not follow it from start to beginning. You only get like what happened in the beginning, in the middle, and the end. You don't remember the characters' names. But with interactive forms of film like this, you actively need to concentrate. You need to know what's going on. You need to know, oh, if I make this decision, if I click yes or no. Simple, like we just watched the trailer, yeah? The first choice is breakfast. If you don't take breakfast in the morning, you might have a grumpy day. So interactive film is a change maker for artists. And I think that the people who consume the media that we produce will appreciate the work that goes into it. So yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. Okay. And then I guess in my own work, I work for a think tank, and think tanks do research for policy change or for public engagement. And so I'm interested in what you think could be the wider social impact of this work. Like, what do you hope people would do when they watch this? What change will happen because of it?
Okay. So again, I come from a theatre background, and obviously in theatre, I do a lot of theatre in education, which is going around schools and, you're doing plays about important issues to young people. Now, obviously, I like to do a lot of community stuff, you know what I mean? I got the Life on Knife right here, Free Palestine, I'm wearing the Fridays top, I'm like making change is what I'm about. And I feel like art is one of the best ways to kind of go about this, because, when you're sitting there as a young person, someone's just telling you facts, like they're telling you straight facts. I don't know why, but it just doesn't really go in the same. I'm telling from experience. I used to be young. But when you're doing it in a different forum, you know what I mean? Like it's a song and it's talking about change, or it's a play and it's really getting you involved in these things, or it's a movie like this where, yeah, again, you are making the decisions and you are seeing the outcomes. It can be very powerful in taking a person through a journey and helping them reach their own conclusions about something, instead of, oh, I know that's wrong because I was told it was wrong. It's like, you're taking and going on this journey and making up your own reasons, like, well, this is wrong because of the way it affects, people in this community, and this is, so that's what I see potential in this, making the kind of art that is really influencing people, really taking people on a journey, even more accessible. So yeah, man, and just to end it off, like, as an artist, one of the most powerful things that you can do is try and use your art to change the world. And I feel like, people that do that, one very big example, Tupac, You know what I mean? 25 years old when he passed on. But the impact that he left on this world, you know, people are still talking about him and the way that he talked about living life. And the bars that he used to talk about the government and other things that were going on, still relevant to this day. So, yeah, man.
Yeah, just to put it out there, Michael's speaking super facts. Like, I feel like with this whole immersive technology as well, it's now like, imagine a millionaire now watching this film and they've never ever had to work a 9 to 5 or they've never ever had unemployment issues. It's like, hey, put your shoes in this character's shoes. What would you do? How would you start to feel? Because really and truly, there's so many people who are going through so many things. There's extreme poverty, there's relative poverty. Either way, the fact that there's some form of poverty of some sort which can be addressed and it's not being addressed on a holistic basis globally, yet we still invest in so many other things. I'm not going to name them, but things that destroy and destruct. It's like, you get me, as Tupac said, really and truly, it's now like, what are we trying to do? Like, what are we trying to make happen? What are we trying to design for the future? What are the messages? What are the stories we're trying to create? For me personally, just to put it out there, is to alleviate global poverty by facilitating the distribution and access to wealth. And the access to wealth is opportunities such as this for me to even dare to even sit on this stage with so many other great people. And it's to continue the mission and to know that it doesn't only take my voice, but it takes my sisters or my brothers' voices. You get me? People to the right of me, such as James, and people to the left of me, such as Michael. Us bringing this project together with everybody in Nairobi as well, you get me? And also looking at the opinions and the ideas of people, listening to people. Not everybody's gonna have all the answers. Like, it's like a jigsaw. If everybody's taking part, maybe we might all find the right pieces, who knows, you know what I mean? And just to also just say one more thing, sorry, before I pass it on, I just feel, I'm gonna say it again, decisions determine destiny. And with that being said, we have to be very conscious and very mindful with the decisions that we make. And this is a daily mantra that I'm always telling myself, because it doesn't mean that I'm perfect, by the way. It just means that I'm very aware that I have to also know that all my decisions will equate to something. And I feel like this film is very, very important. And these projects, all of the projects we do. So, yeah.
Unemployment specifically?
I hope that with this film, someone can recognize themselves in what we've made.
Thank you. Brilliant, okay. So if anyone in Nairobi really wants this question, just put your hand up, or otherwise we'll go to Alano first. Yeah, Matana, we're going to come to you in a minute. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so what I'd say is with Audio Orchestrator, it really brings the cinema to the home. So using spatial audio and immersive audio, we mostly think about music, listening with your headphones in your bedroom or when you're just alone. But Audio Orchestrator takes the whole cinema and takes it back to your home. So you're at home, you're experiencing this cinematic experience, 3D, almost lifelike, where you have a very personal relationship with all the sounds and all the sound effects and all the emotions, you know, even using sound effects just like heartbeats when Aisha is talking or when Sarah is talking. Those things are very personal. So I think using Audio Orchestrator is quite revolutionary in terms of storytelling. It's also very personal, and it removes you as the listener from just a laid-back sort of observing position to being more invested. You know, you have to get through the process. When the characters ask you, how do you feel about it? You know, it's very disarming, and it also makes you very much more emotional and empathetic to their experiences. So I think Audio Orchestrator as a tool in storytelling, it loops in everyone into the sort of the vast sea of 3D audio, not everyday 3D film and 3D image, sometimes also 3D audio. Yeah.
Tracy, did you want to add anything about what you hope the social impact of this work might be in the world?
Yeah, sure. So when we created Our Daily Bread, we wanted everyone who experiences it to go back and ask themselves, how did I get my first job? Yeah. And for most people, it's not it's not the linear method of how do you'd expect people to get their first job. They didn't interview for it. They didn't send in the application. It was through their networks. So creating Our Daily Bread is more like a call to action to the people who run the systems. Because if you look at the current state of youth in both the UK and in Kenya, it's because the systems are failing us. Yeah. So it's a call to action to everyone and also ourselves that there's no small decision. We have to keep in mind the butterfly effect that our decisions hold. One simple choice to not pick up the phone call or pick up the phone call from your friend might determine if you're going to get the job or not. So yeah, that's it. We really wanted people to reflect on how they got their first job and know that even though the systems might seem like they are built against us, we can always find a way around them, and we can always find means to get our daily bread. Yeah.
Love it. Okay, Matana. Okay, just before we come to Matana, we're going to have a short time for Q&A. So you've got any burning questions, get them stored up. But yeah, Matana, what do you think about social impact of this kind of work, or the pieces specifically?
I think that what's so good about this is that it shows the next generation what's possible. It shows kids who are going to come after that there is a future in the cultural and creative industries, which, this question really ties in also in my understanding to what the future of our work is going to be. And we look at it in various ways, is that one of the things that one of the impacts is investment. We're seeing a lot of investment into the cultural and creative industries more than ever before. I can attest to the fact that now more than ever before, there's more money for creatives in East Africa than we've witnessed in the history of Kenya as an independent country. And this is one of the things that I think it shows people, it shows, this is how the next generation sees it, by investors believing in this project and saying that these young people from all over the world can be able to make careers out of this. So on one hand, we have careers, we have investors getting more curious about the advantages of investing in arts and creativity, because possibly in Kenya more than the UK, investors would put their money into, well, I'd say what they think is much more solid as an industry. Maybe someone will invest in what can I say, in a factory before they invest in a production house. So we're seeing more and more, the more such projects get visibility, the more the future investors also see that this is something worth investing in. This is something that has a social impact, that has a social change, that in the end could potentially have a commercial impact. One of the other things is that, I think I mentioned it, is, seeing people making careers out of this is also something that's gonna happen as the years move by. Now we're seeing, and I have really examples from all over the world of people who are making money and making a career out of things you would have never thought before. You see, before, if the previous generations ask what you're doing and you tell them, oh, I'm doing an immersive audio film, like, first, how do you even make money from that? They don't even understand what you're doing before they understand how it makes money. And I think this generation and future generations are going to understand exactly what it is and exactly why it's important. And of course, this project to me shows that there's more structure in terms of management, in terms of the administrative part of it. So there's producers, there's directors, there's all these people coming together on the managerial side and possibly even on the entrepreneurship side to give creatives the structure they need to develop their industries and to scale, of course, but also to become sustainable, because as creatives, we're often in this loop where we wonder where tomorrow's daily bread is coming from. And, you know, to build sustainable businesses is the future. And this is a social impact that I see now and for the future.
Do we have any questions? Yeah?
That was great. Well done. It's super cool, and I can't wait to see them online. But like, I suppose I'm quite interested in, you were talking about who's going to watch this, and like, you know, I can really picture that, those different people watching it, having those emotions. But like, from a production side of things and getting it out there, like, what's your plan for how these films or these interactive pieces live from now? Because like, that's kind of what matters. Like, you've all had this personal experience, but how are you going to distribute it and make sure that the wealth managers and the people who employ people watch it? And yeah, how do you get this stuff out there, basically? And how do you make that equitable when it requires you to like download an app and go online? Like, how do you distribute this kind of content?
Okay, I might go first. Okay, did everyone in Nairobi hear that as well? Put your thumbs up if you heard that. Okay, yeah, cool. Maybe I'll go first to Milan, if you've got any comments on distribution, how you make sure people listen and see this work.
I think for this work, it will be shown in BBC TESA for the next 6 months. So everyone all over the world has access to play with these experiences, to play with these interactive pieces, and just find their way across it. From a production perspective, after those 6 months, what we're thinking of is also just pushing it out there in festivals, in programs that like non-for-profit organizations, just ensuring as many people as possible seeing it. But our primary avenues are the BBC TESTA, and then we are thinking of creating partnerships with institutions, schools, organizations that deal with mental health and unemployment, how they can just come through to support us to share this work with as many people as possible. Yeah.
Cool, okay. And how about from the UK side, how are you going to leverage this?
To the left, to the left. Well, with all these projects, there's a real opportunity, because through the internet and the democratization of the kind of World Wide Web, that there's an accessibility for these projects for people around the world, in Coventry, Nairobi, or even globally, that they can access them and actually explore those. But there is a real challenge where there is a limited access to these texts, and we're looking for new avenues to go in through the social partnerships that the teams have already mentioned, as well as other partners where they spread. But there's also a question of education. It's an education for the public at large for when it comes to immersive interactive experiences. In terms of a media and a storytelling perspective, we've had generations where we've come to understand what is meant by a radio program or a TV program or a film as media entities. Interactive and immersive content is really at the kind of cutting edge of this, and there's an idea of affordance. How do we respond to these interactive instruments? Do we watch them? Do we play them? Do we participate in them? Do we experience them? There's not actually a word in a lexicon that completely captures and conveys how these interactive and immersive experiences make people feel, and the responses that they can go through a wide range. So there's also an element of affordance and education that we need to do with storytellers and then the public at large in terms of how they approach them and what to expect in that. So it's really a two-part question in terms of the messaging of the content, but also the medium which the content is delivered in, that we're going to have to tackle, and something that we're going to have to tackle in the not too distant future for this to become a consistent and constant part of the media makeup of the kind of storytelling world. But in terms of the specifics of these projects, Taste is their primary home, but we're also looking to see what we can do in terms of going out on the road and actually having more people go and experience them in their home settings, in their schools, in their communities as well.
See, it's a good thing Joey answered that, because I don't even know what half of that means.
Oh my goodness, I'm sure Michael knows what half of it means, trust me. Michael's involved in a lot. I would also say cross-pollination, so us just literally tapping into different forms of promoting what we're gonna work on, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, because all it is, we could provide you a QR code, you could literally scan it and you could watch it on your phone or your laptop, your iPad. So I feel like us just figuring out the best ways to facilitate it for whoever may be able to watch it. And then just taking it forward from there, you know? And hopefully the world taps into it, and word of mouth. Word of mouth is very powerful. James? You want to say a word or two?
Okay, thank you so much for your question. Does anyone else want to ask anything of our brilliant young creatives? Yeah?
Sorry, so my question was, obviously
We can't hear you guys.
Pardon? Oh, sorry, my question was, when you guys was deciding, especially in the one that focused on audio,
Could
when
you
you guys
check
was
if your mic's
deciding
muted?
what sounds and stuff, what sounds would provoke what emotions? Was it based on how you felt when you heard the sounds, or did you do research into what sounds provoke particular reactions from people?
Just because we were cut off a bit. So you asked, how did you choose the sounds that you used in the piece? Did you do research to understand what emotions people associate different sounds with, or was it just what you personally associated with emotion? Precious, do you want to go for that one? Or someone else who worked with the sound in the piece?
I think Milan would
Or
be
Nalo?
best.
Ooh, sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
So the sounds we went for were primarily inspired by Aisha and Sarah, and just trying to get the emotional states. If they're fearful, if they're anxious, if they're excited, like which sounds would we, or would translate to that feeling. So we're just guided by these characters, and it was very playful in a way we developed it, because we just have a meeting and just read through the script and think, when you hear this line, what do you think? What do you feel? And which sound represents that feeling? So basically it was just us following our own intuition per se, and just the muse, if you can say, and just trying to look sounds that come closest to that. But also, as I mentioned before, we really broke it down firstly into the layers of sounds that we want. So there's the spoken word that we have, that's Aisha and Sarah speaking, and then there's the sounds that reflect their immediate environment, their presence in a space, their presence in a stage, or their presence in a cathedral, in the graduation. How does that sound like? And then after that, we now invented our own sounds that really reflect the emotional states. Also, the music plays a really key part, because we found that the music helps in connecting these two characters together, because as I said earlier in the beginning, music and sound is universal. So the same music that I enjoy in Nairobi is probably the same music that someone in the UK enjoys. So we tried to compose music that can connect Aisha and Sarah.
Brilliant, thank you so much. I think, have we got time for one more, Alex? Yeah, one more. Does anyone else have a question? Joey, do you have a question?
In terms of my question for the cohorts, it's more of a question of where do you believe your storytelling will take you in the future? As you are new creatives, you are people who are versed in telling stories in a multitude of different ways, using sound, using video, using moving images, using animation, and blending those together using new immersive tools. And the way we communicate and tell stories uses those. It's just never been captured in media before. I'd like to see, what do you think about this blended approach of telling stories with so many different styles and storytelling techniques to it? How do you think you're, as creatives, going to harness that to make new experiences? And I will first take that to James at the very end as a storyteller.
So where can our storytelling take us? Is that the basic experience of the question? Well, I suppose in a kind of a corny way, anywhere really. I mean, I think the things that I've learned on this project anyway was, versatility and how to engage in storytelling in a different way, especially working with interactive media. I think so much of storytelling from a creative perspective, especially if you're a filmmaker, it can be incredibly linear, and you can maybe get into a rut after a while, and you get used to churning out the same sort of projects. So it was nice to actually learn storytelling in a different way. And we were talking earlier actually about doing new things as a creative person and breaking the rules. But in order to break the rules, you have to kind of understand them first, to then break them and do something new and be a genius basically. And I think that doing this has really made us all, people sat here, and Tracy and Mike and Assyrian as well in Nairobi. I think it's made us really understand what it means to create a story, because, we created something that was essentially non-linear, and hopefully that's going to all take us really far. So, I'll see you all in the Oscars in about, 15 years' time, the 6 of us, thank you all, for being here.
Love it. And Joey, who would you like to direct that question to in the Nairobi room?
Who would that? Mike, I would like you, if you want to say, as you're creative, as your side as well.
Okay, so where would storytelling take me as a creative? In my opinion, very far. So basically, I think from what I've learned, and it has actually improved how we tell stories, it has opened up a new world, So I think based off what we've learned, also in the process of actually coming up with a good story, coming up with a relatable story, and making it into paper first, and then now actual production. Because I've learned all these things during this entire process, I think my personal storytelling skills, I think they'll take me far. It's just a basic answer, but I'm willing actually to explore what it can hold, where it can take me. So like James has said, see you at the Oscars. And GIJ2 is coming.
Wonderful.
So yeah, okay.
And for all the creatives out there, the tools that they were used for these projects are available for you to try if you go to BBC Taster or BBC Makerbox. And we were really excited to see what the entire new generation of storytellers could create. And thank you for the cohort in Nairobi, and thank you for the cohort here for being such wonderful and interesting and compelling storytellers.
One more thing I wanted to mention, because it looks like we're finishing off now. One name that hasn't been mentioned tonight that should really be bigged up is Alex Talbot. You know what I mean? She sat over there at the back. But yeah, I'm still not quite sure what her job role is, because the name is so long. But yeah, she's just awesome, and she's everywhere, and she's just making sure everyone is doing good, taken care of, and she goes above and beyond, does extra stuff that no one would even think. She got us tickets to the Mobos, like, do you know what I mean? Like, on a random one. So yeah, man, big up.
Yeah, thank you to Joey as well. There's so many names to mention, if I'm being honest. Also, I would like to also say to anyone who wants to create their own projects, sometimes, if you haven't created your own project, just try it. Reach out, connect with Coventry 2021 as well. They got loads of things going on, even though we're now in 2022, but you know, there's still follow-up programs happening. There's loads of stuff happening. So to anyone out there, you know, just, you can make it happen, and you're able, you're powerful.
If there's no work for you, create it, man.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and that's such a great place to leave off. I want to say that these guys are going to be around for a while, so go up to them, have a chat, talk about your own ideas, and they can help you think about how you can make it happen. And also there are pieces around BBC Taster for the next 3 months, so do go and watch it and share with your friends and help spread it out into the world. Yeah, from my perspective, it's been such a pleasure and so interesting to hear not just about the process, but the impact and the possibility of this way of working. And yeah, I look forward to hearing more and seeing more. And thank you everyone in Nairobi. Yeah, that's it.
Hi? Yes, it's on. Can we get another round of applause for the panel? Thank you, everybody. They did such an amazing job. I actually really want to create something that I can immerse myself in, not be there, but taste, you know, smell-o-vision, things like that. So I will be using these tools to somehow make that. I don't know how. We are going to take another networking break now, so you can immerse yourself in the stories. You can go online. If you are watching from online, do make sure you do that. You can talk to people, network, find out more about the process if you want to do that. And you can use the Urban Jungle app as well. If you haven't checked out what that is, go on your App Store or Google Play, whatever it is, check that out because that sounds amazing. And if you are, like I said, watching from online, do make sure if you have any questions, any comments, if you are tweeting about anything that you are seeing here today, use the hashtag WeMoveGYS. That is WeMoveGYS. We will be back at 4:30, so see you then.